Those of us who are in music education are passionate about music. Musicians, by their very nature, are passionate people and want to share this passion with others. As we share our passion about music with others, we need to understand that Western art music plays a huge part in our vision of what should happen in the classroom. If you are a professionally trained musician in the United States, then you have a Western art education. You cut your teeth on Western art music. Western art music really is cool because it's all about perfection. This quote by Robert Browning is great. But a man's reach must exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? If we can't reach beyond ourselves, if we can't try and continually strive for something more, we'll never grow as musicians, because you never arrive. We know that. Perfection and heaven go hand in hand. We know that this is so because the music that we create often reminds us of that. Here are some quotes that show how music is bigger than mankind. Music expresses that which cannot be put into words and that which cannot remain silent. Music produces a kind of pleasure which human nature cannot do without. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. The only truth is music. Music is the universal language of mankind. Where words fail, music speaks. Music is the language of the spirit. It opens the secret life, bringing peace, abolishing strife. Where words leave off, music begins. Music in the soul can be heard by the universe. Music is the literature of the heart. It commences where speech ends. Music is the shorthand of emotion. Music washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. Those are some pretty cool and heady quotes, and I'm sure that you've heard many of them. It's this idea that music is bigger than almost anything. And because music is bigger than most everything else, save for heaven, there is an order to our musical universe. And here it is. We have heaven, perfection at the top, and music serving heaven, and composers composing music that will serve heaven. And then there are conductors who interpret the composer's music that serves heaven. And then there are musicians who serve the conductors, who serve the composers, who wrote the music that serve heaven. And then there are ears to hear and appreciate the music. It's a very ordered universe where most everyone out there, their job is to appreciate music. Because there is an order to our musical universe, there are positions of privilege. The first position of privilege would be the composers, who write the music that serve heaven. And then there are the conductors, who interpret the music that the composers wrote that serve heaven. And we talk about these conductors. Toscanini is one who still lives on today. And then, if you're lucky enough, there are individual musical artists who are on par with conductors. And if you have a label contract, you are one of those musical artists who is in a position of privilege. You're not a rank-and-file musician. You are someone else. The world of Western art music can be seen as convergent thinking. As you can see here on the left, there is a score. There's the music. Then there's a conductor who considers the score, considers the composer, considers their musical idea, makes an interpretation, and then disseminates that information to individual instruments or voices. The instruments, the voices, the musicians submit to the podium. It's directed learning. The conductor tells the players, the singers, what to do. It is very explicit, and everything moves from the conductor's vision through the instrumentalist or vocalist to a unified performance. It's a performance of the musical idea of the conductor and the composer. We can see this also in the classroom, where there is a song, there is a score, there's a musical idea that relates to the music teacher. The music teacher disseminates that information to the voices or to the instruments, and the voices, the instrumentalists, the recorder players, the xylophone players, they submit to what the teacher says to do. There's directed learning, there's explicit instruction, and there is a single unified performance. It's convergent thinking. Everything goes from one point of thought to one point of thought. And then there is a performance. In Musica, it's not convergent thinking per se, it's more divergent thinking. As you can see over here on the right, it's facilitated and guided learning. We begin with a song, and then we have the people in our class, and then it moves to the right, and there is a group idea of what's going to happen, and then there is a performance. It could be for the class, it could be for parents, but there is some sort of performance. Now, the important thing to know in this idea of divergent thinking in music education, Musica, is that the group idea is collaborative. One person does not make all decisions. It's a collaborative process, collaborative product, and there is consensus. People agree that, yeah, this is going to work. They work through it. Here we are with another example of this idea of divergent thinking. You can see all the musical ideas. All the children, all the people participating have musical ideas about what should happen in this song. And through the process, we come to a unified group idea, and then we practice it and we present it. And here's another version of the same thing. The different colors here represent different groups of students. Same song, different result because we have different kids. We go from a simple song, we work through many, many different ideas, we get a group product, and we have a performance. Now, the benefit of this is that the individual child has to learn to be a musician, has to learn the skills of making musical sound with their voice or with their hands. They have to interpret, they have to conduct, the interpretive, they have to be able to interpret music in a stylistically appropriate way, and they have to know how to use their noodle, their cognitive ability as musicians, creating different things. Typically in music education, if there is a convergent thinking, we're really only worried about the musician. We're not worried about the composer or the conductor because those two roles are taken up by two different people. In Musica, all three roles are inside each child, and we highlight each of those roles each and every day. So in a nutshell, the point of every musical experience in Musica is to create harmonize, arrange, orchestrate, and so on and so on and so on, a song, a piece of music. And through that process, the kids grow. There is always a collaborative activity. Music is a collaborative activity. It is not solely dictated by an adult. There is always time for intelligent conversations. Without intelligent conversations, children cannot grow intellectually, cognitively, same thing, interpretively, or technique in their technique. There is always a musical product. The product validates the process. The musical product is a representation of the collaborative group think for the music. And there always is a performance. The performance could be at the end of 2 class periods for the class, or it could be for a larger audience. Could be for a morning jumpstart is what they call it around here where I am, or it could be a bi-weekly or tri-weekly get-together at the end of the day celebrating students. But the performance is always a celebration of the process of making music. And certainly there could be a lot of whiz-bang things to the product being performed, and the whiz-bang things are part of the children's process of creating, harmonizing, arranging, orchestrating. It comes from the community at the school and not from a book that was purchased off the internet. That is the key difference between what happens when you buy something and when you help children create it. Again, you are helping children create something that is beautiful. It is beautiful music, maybe not perfect, but beautiful music because a child helped create it. Musica bella. It's something that you can do.